Bring this in.
And welcome back into the Main Event Sports Show, Main Event Sports Postgame. Live, Dream Game 2020, Cardinals, Cats, Rashawn, Haven, the millions watching at home, welcome, Facebook and YouTube. Haven, the Cardinals got it done. 62-59. Give me your first, whatever you got to say about it. Let me hear that.
My initial thoughts are this. Louisville made this game 1,000 times harder on themselves than what this game had to be. Biggest issue I had was turnovers. Louisville could not stop turning the ball over. I mean, UK was advertised. They couldn't shoot. They had length, and we knew there would give us problems on the boards. They would get rebounds and putbacks, which was pretty much their offense, except when they got transition points because we just kept turning the ball over and over and over again. Hey, give Louisville credit. They got the win. They dug deep, and they got the win. But, man, they made this game so hard on themselves when they really didn't have to make the game this hard on themselves. But, hey, they got the win. Watch the film, and there's a lot they can learn from this game.
Yeah, I definitely think that, when I look back at what I saw during this game, we saw a Kentucky team was desperate. And, everybody kind of talked about the fact that at 1-5, Kentucky needed this win to have a shot at an at-large NCAA tournament bid. Because in the SEC, you just weren't going to have a lot of opportunity there.
No, the only ranked teams in the SEC now are Tennessee, and I think Missouri's ranked.
Yes. So, when you look at what Kentucky had in front of them, to be able to get a marquee win against the Louisville team and just continue that dominance in the state, it was a huge game for them. And to me, I think that in a lot of ways, Kentucky came out and played their most complete game of the year. They came out, got some pretty decent shooting from Davion Mintz from the perimeter. I thought that was huge. When the game was on the rails, Mintz hit a couple of tremendous bombs.
Oh yeah, his threes kept Kentucky in the game. That was the difference between Kentucky probably losing by 10.
Yes.
And Kentucky losing by 3 was Mintz's his 2 3-point shots, because that saved Kentucky. He was their only really outside scoring threat this entire game.
Yes, no, I think that his shooting was huge for Kentucky. They needed it, and they got it. And then on top of that, Kentucky, a team that came into the game averaging 17 turnovers a game, a team that had been known to fall apart down the stretch, a team that had known to stop playing and quit. I saw them play hard. I saw them not do everything perfect, but they didn't kill themselves. And they gave themselves a chance. So, from the Kentucky side of things,
they didn't turn the ball over.
That's what you take from it.
Yeah. They didn't turn the ball over. We knew they couldn't shoot. They still couldn't shoot. They had great inside presence. It just, college basketball is a guards game.
Yes.
And Louisville had the best guards, and it showed.
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. I think when you look at this game as a whole, how David Johnson and Carly Jones played in that game and how they dominated the game, that ultimately led the day. Like you said, this is one of the first times, and you mentioned it a couple times during the game, this is the first time that we've seen the game go to script. And there really wasn't a lot of variation. Like, there was a couple of weird things where, like Olivier Sarr, who had been playing pretty well, Kentucky's leading scorer and kind of go-to guy, goes out at 0 as a goose egg. But you did have Jacob Toppin for Kentucky played very well. For Louisville, it was almost like the usual suspects. Like, everybody who had been playing well played well in that game. The guys that, things you wanted to see guys bounce back as far as DeAndre Davis, Quinn Slazinski, they did a little bit of something here and there. But, of course, Sam Williamson struggled tough today. But the main players, David Johnson, Carly Jones, they did what they needed to do. But that's not to say that Louisville was at fault. Haven, in my personal opinion, like you said, Louisville made this game a lot harder than it had to be. And to me, it comes down to turnovers.
Yeah, to me, this game was all about Louisville. Louisville's going to win the game, they were going to lose the game, but this game was all about Louisville. Kentucky was just a foil.
Yes.
And Louisville was either going to beat themselves or they were going to beat Kentucky, but they were going to beat somebody this game. And they beat Kentucky. But like I said, this game shouldn't have been nowhere near as difficult as it was. You had a couple of questionable calls, I think, by Mac towards the end of the game. Like, why go ISO, run the clock out basketball with 4 minutes to go in the game? When your normal offense was actually doing pretty well. You was, driving, getting penetration, the kick was open, the feed to other interior players, moving in and out was open. Why go ISO so soon? Way too soon for me. Well, I'd like to see Louisville still play the offense up until about a minute to go in the game, a minute and a half to go in the game, then milk the clock. Once you have a good 6-7 point lead, you knew they couldn't come back. But other than that, this was a very ugly game. The offense on both sides was just atrocious. Let's be honest. The first half, the offense was atrocious on both sides.
Yeah.
It was just bad basketball. Kentucky, you kind of expected this. Louisville, I thought would be a little bit sharper than what they were.
Well, I think that a lot of that has to do with the thing about Kentucky. And this is the thing we talked about. While Kentucky has not played well as a team, they still have talented players. They have players that have athleticism, players that have length, players that have elite athleticism. And I think that Louisville, one of the things that I think early on especially they had to do was get used to playing against their team. Because Kentucky has pro-type size. Okay, so when you're dealing with a team that has pro-type size, pro-type athleticism, guys like Isaiah Jackson, guys like Brandon Boston, Terrence Clark.
And we saw it on display a couple of times.
Yes.
Williams tries to go in the paint with that little baby floater and eats that floater.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing that I think it took Louisville a little while to get out of making the silly plays. The weird thing about it was they did it both in the first half, but then they came out in the second half
and doubled down
and did the same thing and came out kind of getting into the lane, going into the lane off 1 foot. We kind of talked about you can't go into the lane off 1 foot or attack the basket and then get your momentum stopped and then just try to throw up some type of shot or some hook pass. That doesn't work against guys that have that type of length and size. And that was the one thing that was disappointing, that it seemed in both halves Louisville played almost a very bad first 5 minutes of both halves. Then from about the 13, 14-minute mark to about 7-minute mark, they played pretty well. And then things got choppy at the end of both games, or both halves, for both teams. It was a very disjointed game. Neither team was able to really get a stranglehold on it. But you know what? It's a rivalry game. Everybody left everything out. Those Kentucky kids left everything they had out there. Those Louisville kids gave everything they had to kind of change the momentum. And while it was an ugly game, it was still a really good game.
It was,
or at least an entertaining game.
Yeah. Don't say good.
Not a good game. Yeah, it was entertaining. It was very close, and neither fan base could ever get relaxed.
No, I mean, it was entertaining because this was bad basketball. Yeah. This was very bad basketball. It's defensively, it wasn't that bad of a game, but offensively, that's all I can say. Because to me, and we said this in the pregame show, for Louisville to win, you drive, you kick. That's all Louisville had to do. But for large stretches of the game, they forgot to do that.
Yes.
But when they drove the ball and they got the guys off the dribble, especially with Carleek and David Johnson, once they was able to get their guy off the dribble, get penetration, guys were open around them. Guys were open in the paint that they could dish it off to.
Yes, absolutely.
But for large stretches of the game, they just didn't do that for some reason.
It was just they made everything
it
harder than what they had to have. What needed to happen out there, and I don't know why that happened. But it's just one of those things where I think the nervous energy of a rivalry, the fact that Louisville had not played or won that game for a while, there was so much expectation. The fact that Louisville was, coming into the game 5-1, Kentucky was 1-5. It heightened everything. I mean, you could kind of see the relief on the faces of the players that they actually got it done. Like Kentucky is seen as that the great white whale You know, there's this Moby Dick, man. I mean, it was a mental hurdle that, and until, because you feel like you should win it, and you feel like you can win it, but are you going to actually win it? And once they hit double zeros and they got the win, you could just see the relief.
Well, you know, the thing is about this game is, as you said, Kentucky is that great white whale. They're Moby Dick. And
yes,
we finally, it's been a while, but they got him.
Absolutely. And you know what?
And it was a hard get, but it was a get.
And you know what's interesting? The thing that I saw is that Calipari looks like a humble dude right now. Like, he even looked like contrite in like when he after he lost, he waved to the other side. You know, coaches aren't really shaking hands right now because of the whole COVID thing. So, you know, if anybody's wondering why the coaches didn't shake hands, that's why. With the COVID stuff, coaches aren't really doing that. But Calipari knows the situation that he's in right now. And Big Blue Nation is not going to be happy. One of my favorite things is always listening to, I'm one of those people, yes, I will admit it, I listen to UK Postgame.
After a loss,
and just laugh. And I am going to enjoy this because this was the last. Kentucky pushed all their chips to the table in this last game. And they lost.
Man, you know, I watched this Kentucky team, and they have talent. They have a lot of talent.
Yes.
They got a lot of length. Oh, my God. Everybody on this team is like super long and tall and lanky. But one thing this team does not have, and what they desperately need, is somebody that can shoot the ball. If they had just one guy that could shoot the ball, this would be a completely different Kentucky team.
Well, I mean, I think Mintz did a good job shooting the ball.
I mean, he did as well as he could. I mean, but he's not a consistent shooter.
Yes.
He went the whole first half like putting up bricks.
Yeah, I mean,
he was building houses.
I think this is the thing that we're seeing with this Kentucky team is that you just don't have enough firepower on the perimeter. I mean, B.J. Boston and Terrence Clark, I know they're young. I know that COVID shut things down. We talked about the fact they haven't had as much practice time. They're going to have to find some guys to be able to score effectively and consistently on the perimeter. Like right now, Kentucky doesn't have anybody that they like going into any game.
This is a team.
They have no idea who's going to be their leading scorer. Today it was Davion Mintz had 19. Next game versus South Carolina or whoever next. Who knows? Could be Sard. Could be. I mean, Obi Toppin or not Obi Toppin. Jacob Toppin
had a great game.
He had a great game today. He had a turnaround Kobe fade. Like I've not seen him shoot that shot all year, but he did it today. But the problem is, especially when you carry that name on the chest, people always, you know, Kentucky always wants to talk about, you know, we aren't the, you know, we don't move the needle, we are the needle. All that is fine and good, and that's true in a lot of ways. And Kentucky is huge, big name in college basketball, maybe the greatest of all time. But when you got that name across the front of your jersey, as many teams as you've beaten, teams are gonna line up to whoop that ass. There's not gonna be nobody's gonna feel sorry for Kentucky. Kentucky's been beating the asses of every team in the SEC for years.
Forever.
So this is going to be the thing for Kentucky moving forward. They got to find a way. Because right now, you know, you had Cameron Fletcher that's been sent home because of this. The Kentucky fans are going to be merciless on these kids.
Oh, it's going to be horrible.
It's going to be rough.
It's going to be horrible.
Calipari's going to have a hard time trying to keep this thing on the rails, in my opinion.
It's going to be almost impossible. Especially, like we said before, college basketball is a guards game. And Kentucky doesn't have any guards. And that's their biggest problem. They don't have any guards. There's not that guy you can lean to say, look, I need a bucket. Get me a bucket.
I mean, I'm looking at the
We're down by 3. I need you to pop this 3 for me. There's not one guy on the team to be like, hit this free throw, we can win.
I mean, B.J. Boston came into he was supposed to be the next, he was the first top 5 prospect for Kentucky since, I guess it was Karl Anthony Towns was the last guy who was the top 5 player. Okay, so this guy came in with a lot of expectations. I look at him today, he had 11 points, 7 rebounds. I don't even remember him scoring. Outside of those couple of free throws that he hit, I don't really remember him doing anything. I mean, you had, like I said, we talked about Mintz, who had the 19, and then Toppin gave you 10 off the bench. That was it. Like, that's not going to get it done. Like, I don't know what Kentucky's going to do moving forward, but they have a lot of issues. I know we got a bunch of comments coming in. What we got going on over
Imperial Rail, the real Rail, the man who gives the best 5 minutes of freestyle and history hip hop.
Absolutely.
Check out his new album, by the way. Go to Imperial Real Rail. The same on all social media platforms. One of the Louisville's greatest MCs, bar none, has new video out. Check him out. The man is super fly. He says Louisville plays like this during a tournament, they're going home first day, or maybe second.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think
they play like this.
Because I think that a lot of what Louisville had issue with were things that a team like Kentucky is going to give you because of their length. And I think that what we saw, Louisville made the right play a lot of times, but the problem is when you're playing against a team that has that elite length and size, you can't do that. You have to have spacing. You have to have passing. There's certain ways in which you have to do things. And I think that Louisville, in those instances, like I like the offensive setup. I like the way they attacked. I like the way that their spacing was. But at the end of the day, they made some bonehead mistakes. Like the one guy that I have an issue with, I thought DeAndre Davis was okay. I thought he was okay.
Right.
But Jalen Withers, like to look at Jalen Withers' stat line, it doesn't look bad. 8 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, only 1 turnover. He went 3 for 3 from the field and 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Sounds like a great offense. I mean, it sounds like a great line.
But you watch the film and you notice that he stepped out of bounds.
Jalen Withers
towards the end
has got to wake up. Like the kid was absolutely killing Louisville down the stretch, and that's something that I really and truly believe he's going to have to shore up. Or I could definitely see Quinn Slazinski and J.J. Traynor getting some of his minutes because while he had a good stat line, he almost gave that game back to Louisville because of his coverage on Isaiah Jackson, his ability or inability to block out on the free throw line and allowing just too many silly fouls in the paint that almost came back to bite Louisville. Now, Louisville got it done, and they were able to kind of squeeze to the end of the line. And Jalen did some nice things in this game, but the one thing that I'm going to have to ask from him moving forward, even though he's a freshman by playing time, he was here last year, so he's got more than a year under his belt. You've got to stay completely engaged at all times because there's no reason that Isaiah Jackson you can test the shot, force the miss, and then allow him to get his own rebound dunk putback. Because you turn and you just look and you don't block out the man who just shot the ball. Like stuff like that, Rail, to your point, will send you home in the tournament. Like so, I expect more out of Jalen Withers. He stays engaged in spots. He does not stay engaged throughout the expanse of the game, and that can be something that can hurt Louisville down the stretch.
I would agree. And my man Roderick Gibson on YouTube says Jones and Johnson need to get their teammates more involved in the game. He's tired of watching the same stuff every possession.
Like, it's good, and to your point, Louisville went to slow down, kind of isolation ball, close out the game offense way too early.
You know, it almost reminds me of a team going to prevent defense up by 7. The team only has to get they only drop 50 yards, and you go prevent defense. You put your safeties back 25 yards, and you keep giving up all these 10, 15-yard pass plays over the middle. Next thing you know, they got the ball on the 5. You're trying to panic, trying to figure out hey, how are we going to stop them from scoring this game-tying touchdown?
Yeah, I think that was a big issue down the stretch of the game. Is that I think that Louisville was trying. It's one of those things where it gets into your head to where you're thinking, oh man, we just got to hold on. And I think it makes you tight offensively because now you have the other 3 guys on the court standing around staring and saying, what's Carlik going to do? What's David going to do? And just trying to watch them. There's no movement. We talked about the lack of player moving off the ball and guys moving around, even though there was a couple of opportunities where they drew up some nice plays. You had Davis step on the inline once. Then you had Withers travel after another nice setup where Davis throws a drop pass off to Withers and Withers travels. So I like a lot of what Chris Mack did. Like a lot of this stuff, or most of these things, I don't put on Chris Mack. I think that the game plan was solid. I think he had the team prepared. But it's up to the players to be more, alert. You got to be more alert. You got to be on edge. You cannot step on the inline if you're DeAndre Davis. I know he's a freshman, but you cannot step on the inline.
You know where you are.
Because a good team with good guards in a tournament type setting
sends you home.
Absolutely.
Sends you home.
You're right now, the Kentucky game's going. All right, Louisville fans, enjoy it. Be excited. Be happy. You got the dream game. You don't have to listen to those UK people. Trust me, Kentucky fans are done talking for the rest of the year.
Well, this is Kentucky's worst start at 1-6 since 1911.
That's
since before World War I.
Ooh.
Literally, I mean, you're about like 40 years outside the Civil War.
Before the Germans became the bad guys.
I mean, like, you are literally just like 40 years outside the Civil War.
Oh.
Kentucky, you came and founded as a college. I mean, it's just like 1911, their worst start since over 100 years ago.
Oh, I mean, that's just 1911.
Yes.
Like, whoo, that's rough. I mean, so Kentucky is done. But now Louisville, you're turning the ACC play. You have an opportunity. Louisville has a great opportunity.
The ACC is trash. Let's be honest.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
ACC is trash.
Absolutely.
It's a horrible. This year's horrible. I mean, it's so bad. Coach K does not want to play basketball.
I mean, Coach K is like pretty much.
He's like, Duke's with his basketball team is not playing another game. They cancel their season. They're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we suck this year. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the men will follow along that same line. Like me personally, I don't think that will happen.
No, they'll play. The men will still play, but they're not good. North Carolina is okay. There's not a team in the ACC that we cannot beat, that we cannot be hyper competitive with. We just have to play much, much better offensive ball. And I think we're still seeing effects of Louisville's COVID layoff.
Yeah.
In this. And, I think because you saw a couple of times during the game, Carlik looked tired.
I agree.
And Nickelberry's still trying to get into the flow of the game because he's been out since like forever. And he's still trying to get the flow. He came in and played some good minutes. He was okay. Just okay. But like I said, it's about getting him into the flow and getting when Mindlin comes back. I mean, we haven't seen Mindlin play all year, so we don't know what he's going to be like. We know what he played like when he was in San Francisco. That was last year.
Charles Mindlin, and this is going to be the one thing that I think will really help Louisville. They already have two dynamic guys with the ball in their hands. Charles Mindlin will be that third guy. People keep talking about the fact that Sam Williamson is not necessarily getting it done right now at a level that they'd like. The thing that Charles Mindlin gives you is a guy who, while he's not a point guard, he is a guy that can handle the rock. He's a guy that's very aggressive. He's athletic. And he can drive, pass, shoot, rebound, and defend. So when you talk about a guy who can check all the boxes, he can be kind of a guard's version of Dwayne Sutton. He's going to be a guy that's going to give you a lot. He's not going to hurt you on the defensive side of the ball. He's going to be a very good passer. He's a capable shooter. So, as you look at Louisville moving forward, the fact that Chris Mack has been able to go through this non-conference slate, finishes 6-1 without Malik Williams, without Charles Mindlin, only having Josh Nickelberry for the last two games, to finish that stretch with wins over Kentucky, Seton Hall, that's not bad. I mean, you've had an opportunity to make it through here with the only loss, a very tough loss of a Wisconsin team that is very good. I think you got to be excited about that. But now you got to get into ACC play, and you got to start to build on that. I don't think they have another game until this time next Saturday at Boston College. So now they have a week to kind of get these guys together, and I do think that Charles Mindlin is going to be out there for the next game.
I've heard a lot about him. Haven't seen him in a Carter uniform, and I haven't watched any practices this year, so I don't know what to expect from him. And I know what he did when he was in San Francisco. That's great, but it's different when you're playing with a whole new group of guys. How you bond with them, what's the chemistry like, how you play together. Because now you got these new guys coming in, these new players coming in that haven't been part of that chemistry, that haven't been part of that rotation. So now you kind of have to insert them with the chemistry, with rotation. They have to learn what Minnon likes to do, what Carlik and Minnon want to do together, what Carlik, Minion, and Johnson want to do when they get together.
Yeah.
You know, so it's going to be kind of like that learning phase kind of all over again, trying to reintegrate a lot of these guys back into the team, back into rotation. That's going to be, you know, very interesting. And to my man Roderick on YouTube, you know, brought up another point here. You know, his point was we got to get other guys involved early, especially the guards. Carlik and Johnson have to get these guys involved early, the rest of the team, so they can get that flow in, they can get that energy going, and they should play better throughout the game.
Oh, absolutely.
And I agree completely with that. That's a great point. Great point.
I mean, I think that Louisville...
Don't forget to subscribe and hit like, by the way.
I think that this Louisville team is going to have a great opportunity to be a very good team this year. I think that they have a chance to win the ACC. And I've been saying that for a couple weeks now just because I watched North Carolina. I watched what Duke has. You know, I've continued to talk about the fact that when I look at the guards that Louisville lost to the three powerhouses, they lost Devin Askew to Kentucky. They lost DJ Stewart to Duke. They lost Caleb Love to North Carolina. And at the time, all those losses people lamented as, wow, Louisville's not getting it done. These blue blood programs are just taking all Louisville's players. But I'll ask you guys, would you rather have any of those freshmen, which we've seen what they've done this year, or have Carlik Jones?
Easy answer.
20 points, 5 rebounds, a couple of assists. Louisville's by far leading scorer. While it doesn't necessarily look good because everybody wants to get those 5-star recruits, I think that Coach Mack has done an excellent job. Yeah, he didn't get those kids, but the recruiting job he did bringing in Carlik Jones cannot be understated. Like, that was a huge get for him. I think that Louisville's doing a great job.
Yeah, but without Carlik, this team is maybe a 2-win team at this point.
I mean, you know, so I think that needs to be commended. And I think that's something that has to be remembered, you know, that, hey, Coach Mack can recruit, okay? He's dealing with a lot of issues in terms of this cloud of the NCAA. He still has all these things going on. But when you look at Carlik, who he brought in, you look at the fact that, you know, you're going to have Millen. You'll see what he's going to do here in the next couple of weeks. You know, DeAndre Davis is the starter for Louisville. Has been playing well. We saw J.J. Traynor and what he's been able to do, had the game-winning shot over Seton Hall. I mean, all in all, you've got to be excited as a Louisville fan with where you are as a program. Like is now that Chris Mack has this win over Kentucky, what do you think his standing is with the Louisville fan base? Because I know people had kind of lamented the fact that Louisville had not won a tournament game because they lost to Minnesota his first year. But, like, how happy are you with him?
Well, that first year's team, to me, was a pass. Because that wasn't any of his real players. And that team really just didn't have any heart at all. I mean, they were just fold.
Yes.
Second year, some of his guys in there, I think he held on to playing the freshmen, not playing the freshmen too much. I think he should have played Nickelberry more. Johnson should have got a lot more playing time than Gahan. Williams, I think, also had gotten a lot more playing time last year to set you up for this year.
Yes.
I think Louisville fans are excited about what Chris Mack can do now that you're kind of seeing what his team will look like with almost all of his players. Because to me, you're seeing a team that plays a much better brand of team basketball together. When they were all healthy, the first 4 games of the year, like when they were all healthy, and before COVID, they played very well together. Even though they were shorter than a lot of teams that are playing, they may not have been athletic as other teams that they have played, but they were played together as a team, and they had high basketball IQ. And I think that's a great juxtaposition to what you saw Rick Pitino's teams.
Yes.
Because Rick Pitino's teams would be just like average basketball teams up until February. He decided, let's start playing offense. And until then, it was like, you got a great defensive effort, and he really didn't care if they score points or not.
Yeah.
And it was kind of painful to watch because you knew like the first half of the season was kind of like, and he would never play the freshmen, so you get these great freshmen in there, but you had no idea how good they were for like another 2-3 years.
Well, and the thing I like about Chris Mack's teams, because one of the earmarks for too many Pitino teams were that they would have guys that would be good players, like Jordan Wara, even though he played the last 2 years under Coach Mack. Where you would have guys like Wara that were these flashy, really great offensive players or really good players, and they would be awesome versus the dregs of the competition, but come out against the best teams and completely disappear. And they wouldn't have the great games, and they wouldn't show up. And the one thing I like about now we're seeing, let's not get this understated. This is the first year, even though Coach Mack was 0-2 versus Kentucky and showed a lot of signs of being quote-unquote soft, okay, in his first 2 years. This is the first year where this is all Coach Mack guys, okay, especially with Malik Williams out. And we already know Malik's not a soft player, okay, so this is not a knock on him. But this is the very first game where this is today's team was the first team where it was all Coach Mack.
And most importantly on this team versus Rick's team, they never quit.
No, well, that's my point, is that
they never quit.
Coach Mack looks for a certain type of basketball player. A type of basketball player that's going to be aggressive, that's not going to back down, that's not going to be intimidated, and is going to be aggressive. Okay? Now, we saw, at no point do I feel like Louisville was nervous, scared, or intimidated. I didn't see any of that. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't make some bonehead errors.
They may have gotten tight.
They may have gotten tight because of the game. They may have made some dumb decisions, with turnovers and things like that. But I never saw a team that was scared to go out there and take it to Kentucky. And I think that that's what you can hold your hat on moving forward. And that was a mark of Coach Mack's teams at Xavier. It took him a while to build that at Xavier. But once he got it rolling and got all of his guys in there, that Xavier team and that Xavier program was tough as nails. And they didn't let anybody come out of a game thinking that they weren't in a street fight. And I think that that's the attitude. And I think with this game and winning this game, all you're going to do is see that made even more apparent. I think that the team is going to get a lot of confidence out of this game. I think they're going to go into this next week really wanting to go full bore into ACC play. I cannot wait to see what they do against Boston College.
And my man Roderick here on YouTube hit us with, he's excited because trainer Davis and Quinn can bring more in offense, but the offense is Jordan Jones 90% of the time. No, which is true. I mean, the guards here really initiate the offense, but now you have guys that you kind of interchange on the forward spot.
Yes.
And play very, very well. And, kind of the piggyback about what's Kentucky going to do next. They have talent, and it's obvious there's talent on that Kentucky roster. To me, the biggest problem is zero guard play.
Yeah.
No guard play and nobody that can shoot the ball. Kentucky's built like your perfect 1985 college basketball team with big guys down below.
Boy, dinner bell, Mel Turpin.
Before, before you had the 3-point shot, where you could just, if there was no 3-point shot, this Kentucky team would be awesome. Because they could just sit in the paint, use their length, their height, and everything else, and athleticism, and go bonkers. But, man, they're nobody to dribble, drive, and get that penetration to dish to those guys. No threat of an outside shot to open up the middle. It's going to be a long season.
It's going to be hard for Kentucky.
It's going to be a long season. Unless you can find somebody that can consistently shoot from the perimeter, they're going to struggle.
I'm going to tell you the problem with this is, for this Kentucky team, you got to understand, Calipari recruits a certain way. And he recruits with a certain pitch. And he recruits players with a certain mindset. And I think that is going to be what should give Kentucky fans fear of this game going to tank. Because when you have players that have expectations of, I'm going to be a one and done, I came here to ball out of Kentucky, get my exposure, and then go pro. Guys like B.J. Boston, guys like Terrence Clark, What you worry about moving forward is because now the team is not having success, and now because the NCAA tournament almost looks like a pipe dream.
What do you do?
They're going to go get theirs.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be the problem. Is that they're going to go get their own. They're going to gun. They're going to go out there and just I'm going to get my numbers. I'm going to get my 20. If I'm BJ Boston, I only got 11 points in this game. That's not going to get me to the pros. My mama told me I need to be getting 20. Daddy said I need to drop this dub.
Well, but the problem is you look at those players. They look at where the NBA is now. Well, the NBA is pretty much just a 3-point shooting league, and that's it.
Yep.
And if you're Boston and you can't shoot at least 30% from the 3-point line, what are you going to do at the next level?
No, I agree with you there, but I think that it's going to become where I'm just going to put my numbers up. I'm going to make my box score look good. I'm going to make my stats look good.
But how do you make your stats look good if you can't shoot?
I'm going to gun. I'm going to gun. I know Coach wants me to pass the ball. I know Coach says Mintz is supposed to be the guy who's setting up the offense, or ask you, they weak. I'm just going to keep the ball and just do my own thing. Like, this is where Kentucky's at right now. You have to really worry about, Cameron Fletcher has already been sent home because of having the wrong mindset. Like, I really feel like we talked about a season on the brink, and you talk about, of course, that classic book about Bobby Knight in his last year at Kentucky. And by no means am I saying this is Calipari's last year at Kentucky or anything like that. But you could have a season on the brink type of year for Kentucky where you just say, wow. Like, people talk about that NIT team.
This is worse.
This team is worse than that NIT team because the difference with that NIT team with Nerlens Noel, of course, he ends up going down with the injury, and Kentucky ends up losing to Robert Morris in the NIT. But that team, that Kentucky team was a tournament team before Noel went down with the injury.
Oh, yeah. If he doesn't go down with injury, they're in the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, that was the team that was going to go to the tournament. So this Kentucky team is worse just
and they had heart. That team had heart.
Absolutely.
They played well. They just didn't have that much talent. I mean, you had Nerlens Noel, and then you didn't have anything after him.
I mean, you had Noel, you had a rookie, freshman, Cauley Stein, you had a freshman, Archie Goodwin. You just didn't have a lot of playmakers. Ryan Harrow, the transfer from NC State. You just didn't have a lot of top-level talent.
But they could still win.
Yes.
They could still rally off Nerlens Noel and still...
Yeah, Noel was the number 1 overall player in the class. So, you had a guy that you could build around who was an elite shot blocker, a guy who could finish at the rim. UK just doesn't have that right now.
This team, there's nobody. I mean, really...
They were literally trying to run their offense through Jacob Toppin in the second half. Like, if you're having to run your offense through Jacob Toppin and Olivier Sarr, and that's your 2 go-to guys, that's not going to work. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but the Kentucky fan base is such, and they put so much pressure on that university that I can see this going very wrong for players. Calipari has earned a lot of chips, with this fan base, but he looked beat down after last game. Like,
I because Cal realizes like what he has, what he doesn't have, and he knows that he doesn't have anything. He has talented dudes that don't play well together.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have a trigger man. He doesn't have anybody who can get it going. I think what's hurt Cal is that Cal, I think, actively wanted some guys from last year's team to stay, and they wound up trying to go pro or transfer, and then not being able to convince those guys to stay.
Yeah.
I think has really set this team back. So I think Cal was banking on a couple of those guys staying.
When you look at Ashton Hagen's not pro guard. Like
No.
I know he made at least the extended roster for the Minnesota Timberwolves, but he should have been here as a junior.
Well,
Jamal Baker should have been at Kentucky. The tall light-skinned kid from the West Coast, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he should have been on this team. If you add those 3 guards to this team,
it's a completely different roster.
This Kentucky team is top 15.
Easy.
With those 3 guys added to the roster.
I mean, just with Ashton Hagen, if he just came back by himself, this is a completely different team.
Those other 2 guys, what they give you, if you have Ashton Hagens as a trigger man at the point guard, and then you have Baker and the other kid, the West Coast kid, both those guys are really good shooters. If you add 2 consistent shooters to Mintz Hagen's,
and everything you have down below,
and then everything you have on the post. Oh, now you got a team.
Actually, you have a team that probably beats Louisville by 10.
I mean, a team that definitely has all the answers.
Yeah,
Louisville would have had to play better than what they did today to win.
Yeah, if Ashton Hagen's back, the other guy's back, and Louisville plays like they do today, Louisville loses by 10 or 12.
But this goes back to what I said in the pregame.
You can't keep him.
Coach Calipari reaps what he sows because of the way he recruits. He brings kids in with the expectations, look, you're going to come in and either you're going to sink or you're going to swim. But if you don't make it, it's on you, and I'm going to recruit the next group of guys over you. So what happens is these kids get in their mind that I either have to be really good now, and then at the end of this year, I'm either going to have to go pro or I'm going to have to transfer. Like, that's the culture that he's built. And with the way this team has gone off the rails this year, I don't think he's going to have much hope for this year. And let me tell you something, Haven. Next year's recruiting class isn't even as good as this recruiting class. So Kentucky's in a very bad spot moving forward. Like this is not just a one-year problem. Of course, everybody knows that they stole Bryce Hopkins from Louisville, the former Louisville commit that Kentucky all of a sudden just had to have, and magically he decommits from Louisville and commits to Kentucky.
Well, the guy they should have stolen was from West Kentucky that's balling out, Hollingsworth.
Oh, yeah.
That's the guy they should have.
Oh, man.
They got Hollingsworth on his team?
Absolutely.
Different team.
Oh, there's a couple of guards that I think Kentucky would like to have off Western Kentucky's roster. I mean, it's funny to say, but Western Kentucky's backcourt is substantially better than Kentucky's.
Oh, very. Oh, easily.
They have 3 guards in that backcourt that would play minutes for Kentucky.
And Hollingsworth was a guy who wanted to go to Kentucky.
Absolutely. I've not thought about that till you said that just now, but I think Kentucky probably has the 3rd best backcourt in the state.
Oh, easy.
And that's rough. That is rough. I that completely just to think about, that's crazy. But yeah, I mean, Kentucky's in a bad spot. You know what?
Because
I'm not gonna cry any tears. I'm gonna tell you this. Y'all know I'll always give props, and I'll give credit where credit's due. And I'll always, people that try to say that Coach Calipari is not a good coach, I will call them aloud that every time because
he's a great
Calipari's a great coach. But he is recruiting to a certain style. He's coaching to a certain style. And that certain style has a finite shelf life.
Especially without Kenny Payne to bring in that upper level talent.
Absolutely. Like, if you're going to recruit that style and you're going to continue to kind of bloviate that whole rhetoric out there, there's a certain level of recruiting and certain types of recruits that you have got to consistently get to be there. And now that you don't have that, this thing could go really bad really quickly. And this is not a one-year thing. I think we could see Kentucky struggling, maybe not to this level per se, just depending on who comes back from this team and who decides to go pro. This could be a 2-year thing where UK has a couple of years where they're struggling to make the NCAA tournament. And if Calipari's at that point, I'm not saying that he'll leave because he does have a lifetime contract, but life in Camelot is tough when you're losing.
There'll be a lot of open NBA jobs they'll be calling.
I could definitely see that starting this year.
Because best believe, he may not, say what you want to about Cal. I think he's a great coach. Because anybody can get 5 freshmen every year and have them play at a high level towards the end of the season. That's excellent coaching.
Well, and the thing about Calipari is now he has enough guys in the NBA to where his selling point to an NBA team can be like, look, if you hire me,
I can recruit all over
I'm
again.
good friends with all these guys. All these NBA players would love to play for me. All these NBA players would love to do this, love to do that, to come in and be a part of what I do.
Which is true because we look at how many guys Kentucky has put in the NBA that are ballers.
Yeah.
That are bona fide stars.
I mean, Kentucky's got 25% of the league.
That's crazy.
Just about.
That's crazy.
I mean,
I'm just thinking about it. If he could say, no, I want Jamal Murray to come back and play for me.
Yeah.
I get Tyler Harrell to come back. Maybe Anthony Davis be able to come. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of NBA general managers that would love to have that conversation with John Calipari.
If I was a general manager, I would have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because if you can recruit NBA players that you've already played, that's already played for you, they're bona fide superstars.
I mean, but don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. John Calipari is making more than almost every NBA coach. He's making $10 million a year at Kentucky, and he has a lifetime contract.
That's like Nick Saban money.
That's crazy.
With half the championships.
Now, half the championships. He has one. He has as many as Rick Pitino has over the last 10 years. And you all can talk. You can make all the jokes you want about the championship being taken away. Bottom line is, y'all know who won in 2013.
Well,
so,
I will say this:
Kentucky has cut down as many nets as Louisville has.
I will say this though: Kentucky. Well, I'm sure Calipari has a bunch of NBA rings that he probably has stowed away someplace. People give him like Anthony Davis. So you got one of mine.
Hey. If I'm Cal, like all I'm saying is this: is that I have seen when Big Blue Nation turns on a dude, and it can happen quick. And
Joker Phillips.
It can really happen.
Tubby Smith.
When you're losing at basketball, and you lose to Louisville. This was the one thing. Like I said, when we talked about the fact that Kentucky pushed all their chips to the table. Cal pushed all his chips to the table with this game. We saw the motivational tactics talking about, ESPN is moving this game.
You get the one step. You can't get the one-step video.
They want to see me going to the video. Oh gosh, the one-step video. When you are doing the Remember the Titans, everybody step together, step. Like when you're doing that,
we're together. We're one.
That is stuff that you're doing in April, May, and June.
We're a band in the hand, like a bad '80s action movie.
Yeah, like
we're a band in the hand.
When you're doing that, and that's your motivational ploy, you're in trouble. UK fans have gone along with this. They've not necessarily liked the one and done. Okay, they were able to accept it because they at least came with making Final Fours and, a certain minimum level of success. But as big as this has blown up this year,
it's hard.
And what it could be next year, they're in a tough spot. Kentucky's in a tough spot. I don't know what's going to happen down the stretch of the season. I will enjoy watching it. But, man, it's rough.
I've never seen a Kentucky team this bad.
You know what?
Maybe some Billy Gillespie teams.
Couldn't happen to a better guy. Oh, Billy Gillespie's team wasn't this bad.
I'm really
the worst start since 1911. The worst. Like, I don't know what year Adolph Rupp was born.
1911. No.
Right, but I'm saying, like, Adolph Rupp was probably, if he was born, he was in diapers. Baby Adolph Rupp is looking like, what the hell are y'all doing? Like, you know what, Louisville fans, I'm going to say this. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Like I said, Calipari, you reap what you sow. You went out there always picking with Louisville, always trying to take Louisville's recruits. So I have no love for you. I'm going to completely enjoy watching you fail this year.
And this year's this year's already a failure. The year's already over. This season is already over.
You have Tom Crean at Georgia that's licking his lips because there's no love lost between Crean and Kentucky. You have, what's the coach at Auburn, the former Tennessee coach, Bruce Pearl at Auburn, that's licking his lips. Can't wait to get his hands on Kentucky. Tennessee.
Don't try and bust him because Kentucky busted all these dudes.
Oh, I'm telling you. So trust me when I tell you, everybody's going to be lined up for that ass whooping. So I'm saying, I'm going to enjoy it. I am not a person who loves watching Kentucky lose more than I love watching Louisville win. Don't get it twisted. I'm a Louisville fan first.
But this year.
But I am going to enjoy it because this is what Louisville fans have been waiting for. And hopefully after this year, my boy Ethan Moore and the rest of the Louisville fans that were just so nervous and didn't want to watch the games and want to whine about my emotions and my feelings.
I will say this, though.
What?
Louisville won the game. Congrats. Pound back. 2 pound back. Won the game. Next step. You got to find a way to take UK to the woodshed.
Expect more next year. Like, I do think that there is an emotional hurdle to get over, especially when the team has a long losing streak. I think that does have part to do with it. And I think that with the guys that Chris Mack is bringing in, when you look at next year, when you talk about the fact that you're probably going to return Sam Williamson, I don't foresee Williamson trying to go pro after this year. You're going to have Jalen Withers back. You're going to have DeAndre Davis.
J.J. Traynor.
You're going to have J.J. Traynor. and all these other guys back. I mean, truthfully, I know that Carlik Jones is looking to try to go pro. All these guys have the option to come back. I think the only guy that I would say that I would expect is definitely not coming back is David Johnson. Like, I think David's going to go pro after this year, and I think it's going to be much deserved. Outside of him, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys come back. Now, don't get that wrong. I don't expect for Carlik to come back. I don't expect for Malik Williams to come back. But both of those guys, their NBA prospects are iffy. So those are guys that I would not be shocked if they decided to come back. But when you look at what Louisville has coming back, understand, outside of Carlik Jones and Malik Williams, this whole team is freshmen and sophomores. Okay? They have a lot of guys that are contributing that are with their first year playing. Okay? So this Louisville team is going to be exponentially better. And then you add on top of it L. Ellis, the number one JUCO player, 6'3" point guard, dynamic playmaker. Bobby Pettiford, the best point guard in the state of North Carolina, dynamic playmaker, bulldog defensively. You have Eric Vanderheiden, stretch 3/4, great shooter, can knock down shots. You have Mike James, athletic wing from Florida, excellent shooter, excellent defender, tremendous defensive player. You have so many players coming in. You have the big 6'10" big man out of Georgia as well. I can't think of his name. He was the last kid to sign with the class. They have a lot of good players coming in, but they're all in that Chris Mack mold, is that they're all great motor, great defensively, play hard, play unafraid, and are basketball players first.
And that's why next year, you got to blow them out.
In Rupp?
You got to blow them, especially in Rupp. Especially in Rupp.
Ooh,
especially in Rupp. Here's the thing. See,
I don't know Kentucky fans can handle
No,
it.
see, here's the thing. And this is me. Maybe because when I ran track in high school, we didn't have, actually I went to Brown High School, we didn't have a track. So we had to run on the block.
Yes.
So I never knew what it was like to play in front of a home crowd. I never had that experience ever. When I ran Junior Olympics, and the Nationals, I may have ran in front of like 10, 15,000 people, but I never ran in front of like a hometown, a home crowd. People cheer my name. I was always on somebody else's track running.
Yeah.
So my mentality has always been, you shut their fans up. You send them home crying. That's what you got to do. I'm a football first guy. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a football first guy. And for years, Bobby 1.0, Charlie, that's what they love nothing more than going to Kroger Field and sending UK fans home crying. Nothing brought more glee to these men than beating Kentucky at Kentucky. The basketball team needs to learn that glee. The basketball team needs to listen to Darth Vader, get in tune with the dark side of the Force, let the hate flow through you, and smash them in Kentucky.
I would love to see it. Who knows? I think that it's trending that way. Like I feel a Louisville resurgence. Like,
Satterfield, stop being scared. Take your tail from between your legs. Stop complaining about they're doing the L's down. They're doing the L's down. What are you doing? Why are you doing the L's down? No. Take your tail from between your legs. Grab a switch off your tree like your mama in North Carolina did to you as a little kid. Peel the leaves off. Take that bark off so it's nice and wet. And whoop, there it is. That's what you got to do. I'm done.
I can feel that. I think some of that had to do with football, y'all. I feel like some of that ran with Kentucky, but no, I feel like it's Louisville.
Let's just do it,
absolutely, and I feel like it's Louisville's time. I think that Kentucky has had their comeuppance for a minute, but we talked about the fact that we had liked the way Coach Mack had approached the first two Kentucky games. I felt like in both of those games, Coach Mack coached a great game, but the team just didn't have enough to get it done. And
now you got it done. Now you got it done. You got that first hurdle. Second hurdle. Get that double-digit win.
Yeah.
Third hurdle. Lay the woodshed to them.
Yeah, like in 2 years, when the game comes back here to Louisville, there's no excuse that that's not a blowout.
No. They should put them out Lexington.
Like I think that
nothing is better than beating Kentucky in Rupp, having that place go completely quiet to where you can hear a mouse piss on cotton. That
has not happened since the T. Will Ramel Bradley game. Like, I think Louisville may have won that game by 11, 12 points.
But that's what you have to do. You have to convincingly beat them in Rupp and send them home crying. And then you can be like the demons have an like exorcist. The demons have an exercise.
I agree with that. But you know what? Congratulations to the Louisville Cardinals. You got it done. I can put these are the good luck shoes now, y'all. The Dons, my issue 2s. If you don't have them, go to adidas.com. Support Donovan Mitchell. A percentage of those proceeds go towards COVID relief and trying to get money to families that need it during this. So get your U of L Dons. They're called Don issue number 2, The Ville. It's what the name of the shoes are.
And you want some Main Event Sports merch, go to the link below, maineventsports101.com. Just click shop. We got stuff for kids, babies, your ladies, everybody. And also, for all those people on right now watching us on Facebook and or YouTube, if you're on Facebook, hey, like the page. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe.
And if you're on Facebook, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe also.
There you go, because we'll have more content with the cast of millions coming later in basketball season.
And the millions!
And millions of Main Event Sports fans. And like we like to end every show,
without any struggle,
there is no progress.
Peace.